What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports Lineup Review Show. I'm your host, Mangone. I'm back with Hoop. Hoop, how's it going over there? How was your week 14?
Yeah, it was a good week overall. I mean, the games were good, entertaining, and had a lot of fantasy points. Um, yeah, I mean, it was big performances. We had Derrick Henry go off, Travis Kelce obviously went off, Devonte Adams went off. He goes off every week. Aaron Rodgers had a big game. It was interesting. I did pretty well on FanDuel, not so good on DK. You have your DK up. I was pretty similar. It looks like it might have been like a 3v3. So yeah, we'll do the normal talk DK, talk the Millie, talk FanDuel as well.
Yep, we will talk it all. Before we do that, guys, please hit that like, hit that subscribe in the bottom right-hand corner. I think it's here. I don't know if it's the other way because it's flipped around or anything, but please hit that subscribe for us, and that like button over here on YouTube helps us out a ton. Also, wanted to mention we had some big news, Hoop, right? We added a new addition to the team. Tell the people who it is.
Yeah, if you didn't see, we added Draft Cheat, guy, industry in the legend, been around forever. Big addition to the squad. He's going to have a big impact in basically all the sports, specifically baseball. So he'll kind of head up the baseball content on the website. But you'll be seeing and hearing a lot of him moving forward, and we're very excited about it.
Yep, use the code DC30. You get 30% off your first month. And then on top of that, you're not just getting 30% off the first month, you're getting 15% off for life. So yeah, hit the code DC30. And this isn't a code that's going to be around for you can't like a month later be like, oh, let me use that DC30 code. You got to get on it now. So use that code DC30 and be sure to check out his article. He, obviously had it already, but for next week, he will still have his article. It is the 10 for 10 article. He gives you 10 plays under 10% to help you take down GPPs. So use that code. Let's dive in and talk about this breakdown though, Hoop. Rodgers, Henry, all these studs, Adams, you got Ronald Jones here, who ended up being some late news. I know this is my team, but you obviously looked at some similar teams, I'm sure. So break it down for me here. What's kind of your thoughts?
Yeah, so as the week went on, I realized I really wanted Rodgers at quarterback, so I ended there as well. The Rodgers Adams combination, kind of talked about it on the Cash Show on Friday. Just as the news broke, we got some cheaper plays at running back. It became the way to go. I also played Derrick Henry. He was needed for the most part on DK. I mean, a monster game, 39 fantasy points. It was a great matchup for him. Pretty easy to get him in. DeAndre Washington was the value that kind of opened up and didn't have a great game. But, with these value plays, we always talk about it. It's not necessarily what they do. It's what they allow you to do with the rest of your lineup. And playing DeAndre Washington gave you the ability to play Derrick Henry, gave you the ability to play Devonte Adams. And, those guys right there between Henry and Adams, you're looking at 60, almost 64 fantasy points. That's big between two guys. So, yeah, Washington didn't get there, but he was the right play. A decision I was trying to make at wide receiver 3 was Kiki or Curtis Samuels. I was kind of on Samuels before. Then there's a weird tweet that kind of came out, said he wasn't starting and he had the COVID issue. And, I felt fine with him playing, but, it was so close between Kiki and Samuels. I had the money. I was like, you know what, I'll just go with Kiki, play it safe. He got a touchdown. I mean, I think Samuel was pretty close in terms of production. Brashad Perriman was very, very popular at wide receiver. With Mims out, and he's been solid, 3.9. I mean, they just got throttled. I mean, they got absolutely smoked, couldn't do anything with the football. So he only got 5.6 fantasy points, but he is so popular where it really didn't matter. So I think most teams were some combination of these first 5-ish, 6-ish guys. And as long as you had Rodgers, Henry, and Adams, for the most part, you probably did all right.
Yeah. So the one thing I looked at, Hoop, was a 2v2, and I debated it a ton. I don't know if this exactly matches. I think it does, because I think I had Curtis Samuel in before Kike Kute. And then what happened was I was looking at combos, and it was Rodgers. I was looking to maybe step down from, and I wanted to maybe move Perriman up to Robbie Anderson, right? So it was a $2,000 difference. So if you go to Kike, I believe, and I don't know if this adds up completely, but I believe it was, you could get Mitch Trubisky. Now, if you went Samuel over Kike, I think you were then able to, you had to go Jalen Hurts instead. So you had to go Hurts and Jalen Hurts and Robbie Anderson, which is like a big risk off of Rodgers, right? Like you don't know what's going to happen. I will say the one thing I liked was they basically said like Jalen Hurts ain't going to be pulled mid-game, which you never know, right? I mean, if he just looks atrocious, then you got to change it up. But they said they were just going to kind of let him out there and do his thing. So what would you think of that 2v2? Kind of want to get your takes on that.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been, I mean, it's something to consider. I mean, I still like, I just felt like with all the value we have, you just go the safety of Rodgers. I mean, they're so pass heavy, even in the red zone. I mean, in the red zone where a lot of teams look to run, they're still just looking to pass. Aaron Jones. I mean, a lot of people are frustrated with Aaron Jones. Like, what do people expect? Like, I saw a lot of people on Twitter all pissed off about Aaron Jones' role. Like, why is anyone surprised by the limited workload that he has? Like, they're a passing offense. They can't stop their offense when they're passing. Now they did go on a nice run. They had like a 10-minute drive where they just basically ran it the whole time, but you're always running the risk because if you're playing a high price running back, you need them to score rushing touchdowns. And when you have an offense and led by Aaron Rodgers, when you're at the 1 yard line, they feel their best chance of getting it in is a pass to Devonte Adams. Like, it's tough to play and trust those running backs. So I just felt, you just go with Rodgers. I mean, just so he's just so safe. Like, he's going to continue to be so safe. The amount of passing is insane in this offense.
Yeah. And I mean, he's out there audibling and doing whatever he wants. And on top of that, like people sure, Aaron Jones could have a good game. He could rip off a big run. But here's the other problem. What if Jamal Williams is in there? What if A.J. Dillon is in there? Like, the Packers are fine doing that. And it's like, you have to understand that is part of the range of outcomes. Like, that is something that can happen. You can't just say, oh, because Aaron Jones is better, I think he should be in. Like, you're not the coach. Like, that's the one thing that I think, some people struggle with, and I've had struggles with in the past. That was one thing I had with Amari Cooper when he was with the Raiders. I kept playing him, and I was like, why are they not giving it to him? He's got to get red zone targets. It's like, it's just not happening. It's not what they're going to do. So what'd you think of Ronald Jones news? I thought he was like a major jam in on FanDuel. DK, I didn't think he was a guy you had to jam in, but I thought he's a very strong play. What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I didn't end up playing him on DK. I mean, I thought he was still obviously a fine play with that news on FanDuel. Yeah, he was like a lock. He was only 6.3K. The concerns on DK where he might not get the passing work, and he really didn't get the passing work, but it was fine because he scored that touchdown at the end of the first half, which was huge. So I was fine with him if I landed on him. I didn't end up landing on him on DK. I did on FanDuel. In terms of defense, I thought it was two defenses really for cash, as either the Cowboys or the Seahawks. If you had the money, I mean, I ended up going to the Seahawks, but Cowboys obviously had a monster game. So they're 2.4K. Seattle was 3K. Those were one of the two defenses that I definitely wanted to land on for cash games. Yeah,
no, I think that makes some sense. And one thing I'll mention on DK, I know Snyder DM'd me and he said, oh man, like I feel dead, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, listen, you got to dig into your contest and figure out if you think you're behind, and it's your decision ultimately. Like if it ends up not working out and you made the wrong switch, like you got to really, I said, you got to like look at like a 40-man contest and see like what the percentages and what some teams look like. Like you can't think through a 2,000-man contest, right? But have a 40-man to kind of get an idea. You can do a little bit of digging, and he ended up swapping off Seattle D and swapped over to Washington D. And he said, basically, he sent me a message and said like #run Pierre. Like he was like pretty excited. So those are things you can do, but again, it's not easy to make those decisions and just things to look at in this.
And the easiest way to gauge where you're at is just, look at your fantasy points and look how many minutes you have left. If there's guys, ahead of you and they have more minutes left, like you need to be a big chunk of people ahead of you with more minutes left. You need to be looking to make some swaps because it's going to be hard. More likely than not to catch up. But it's hard though. It's a feel thing as well, because maybe you have more higher salaried guys left who you can project more fantasy points. So it's tough. It's honestly a feel situation for the most part. You got to kind of feel, and then go to your biggest dollar contest and see, if it makes sense to do some swaps.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt. It's a fun thing to try and do, but it's definitely not easy. And I always say, like, when you do it, expect it's like you're gonna lose, right? Like you're doing it if you're in that situation. If you're gonna win, there's no need to be doing it. Where you're in the optimal situation. we'll go over and talk about FanDuel. But before we do that, again, I want to mention, guys, use that code DC30, and then check out, we got Monkey Knife Fight going on. We have Monkey Knife Fight videos that we're doing over here. The Discord chat is popping, and man, like, I've been popping in there. I can't play Monkey Knife Fight where I'm at, but I am kind of monitoring and see how it's going. And like every time I look in there, it's like Hoop is just winning. Like the heater is Monkey Knife Fight's insane for Hoop.
Yeah. I wish I could get more down. I mean, it's been I think I've posted around 20 plays, and I'm fairly certain they've gone like 17 and 3. So now it's a pressure situation because I'm in there giving these winners, and people are expecting the winners, so I can't let them down. So I'd already posted some plays for the Monday night game. So if you're not a member, if you sign up, you can get instant access to our Discord. So that's where the winners are given, and hopefully we stay hot in there.
Yeah, don't overthink it, and you got to deliver. That's definitely for sure. Head on over, check that out. I know one guy said he's like, I started with $5, and now my bankroll there is 110, and now he's going to do $10 a bet, right? He said he's going to move it up a little bit. So he's been crushing it there. It's a great way to do that. And like Mr. Big T over on the bet side, he hit like a 30-1 first time touchdown yesterday. So pressure's on him. The bets chat is going to be clamoring for a good first time touchdown from Big T today.
30-1. That's a nice one. That's a nice winner.
Yep, he had Mr. James Washington. So a nice little hit for him and the Run Pure Bets guy. So if you guys can do some betting, check that out over there as well. Let's go to FanDuel now, though. I want to talk about that. Landed on this team. I thought this team was a really good team. Surprised at the percentages. I was surprised as many people were on this team. I'm trying to see like how many was duped in this contest. You're in a high dollar one, so definitely a good amount. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. There are a lot of you guys played this team, and maybe it just looks so obvious. I thought it was a really good team, but I didn't know if it was like super obvious or not.
It's always hard to gauge with the news, how many people are going to react and how many people are not, or how many people are already set on a team. And, I thought prior to the Ronald Jones news, people are going to be on a lot of different things. And I think ownership would have been pretty spread out. Then the Ronald Jones news comes and you're locking them in. I mean, a lot of people felt David Montgomery was mispriced on FanDuel at 6.6K with the workload, the matchup, everything you take into consideration. To me, he was a lock. You get the news on DeAndre Washington. I mean, he's basically the minimum price, 4.8K. And like I said on DK, like he is better on FanDuel because he's 4.8K is cheaper than the 4K on DK. Not necessarily what these guys do. It's what it allows you to do. So it allows us to get Adams, it allows us to get Kelsey, it allows us to get Mahomes, and allows us. I thought Robbie Anderson was a priority, to be honest. So you can get a lot of your priorities. So I thought he was locked. And then Ronald Jones at 6.3K, I think you had to play him. So the running backs were pretty much set. You wanted Devonte Adams. We know we wanted. I prioritized Robbie Anderson. I was playing him no matter what on FanDuel. Tight end was tough. Like if you didn't play Kelsey, but with the news, it made it easy just to go ahead and play Kelsey, and then Cowboys defense is really cheap. The team, kind of built itself once you kind of locked in those running backs, and then you could get Mahomes, who was a good play. Now, if you went this team and left, you couldn't have got up to Rodgers. Rodgers is more expensive. So you're stuck going Mahomes.
Yeah, you're stuck going Mahomes on this one.
Yeah, which was, obviously Mahomes is a phenomenal play. It just kind of built itself. Then Kiki Qt with Cooks out. I thought he was a really good play as well. So it was a good team. It obviously did well on FanDuel, and it kind of just came together. You weren't doing anything crazy. Once we got those running back plays, the team kind of built itself, and obviously you can see by the fact that a lot of people ended up playing it.
Yeah. So here's a question for you. Were you playing Kelsey before the Ronald Jones news? My answer is no. I was trying not to. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's interesting because I wasn't either. I felt like you were able to get him. I was trying to get Derrick Henry in there. I kind of had him in, and I was not that I was prioritizing him, but I felt like as I was building teams out, I was like, I can get to Henry. Like as I had like all my core, and I was like, I didn't know if I could make that happen, but I felt like as I was building, I could do that, and I was okay playing one of those like 5K tight ends. That's kind of where I was at.
That's exactly. I was in the same thing. I most likely would have ended up playing Derrick Henry a cheaper tight end, and then I can't remember exactly where I was at wide receiver. I mean, I was still building up until the Ronald Jones news. I was looking at Deshaun Watson at quarterback a little bit. I my core would have been, Henry or Montgomery, Washington, Henry, Devonte Adams, probably like a 5K ish tight end. I think I had a team with Akins in there that I like quite a bit. And that would have been my squad most likely. And then, like I said, the Ronald Jones news broke, and then it kind of shifts everything.
Yeah, I dabbled between Cole Kmet, Akins, because then that news with the Cooks. I dabbled in the idea of like Evan Ingram, who did not do well. Hawkinson, like I was just, I kept trying to see what the mix was to get everything I would like, right? So that would change other pieces here and there. But I believe my core, I'm trying to think of the exact one. I know I had Robbie Anderson as a core. I had Adams and I think I had Mahomes and then David Montgomery. So those were like the core guys I was kind of building around.
Yep.
But yeah, that'll do it for the FanDuel side. I don't think there's too much more else to say. How about the Cowboys defense? Maybe we'll talk about that. Like, were they just like an absolute lock? Like, I mean, listen, when defense goes off there, some people get super tilted when the chalk D goes off.
Yeah.
But I thought they were pretty mispriced and they were one of the more obvious plays.
Yeah, I thought, them, or, if I needed $100, like I was fine going down to Carolina at 3-4. Now, I mean, that would have been unfortunate because I think a 15 fantasy point difference, but I mean, you can't project that at defense. Like if I really needed $100, I'm fine going down to Carolina. Like more times than not, it's not going to be a 15 point difference. You're talking usually a few points, but it's tilting. Like if you're deciding between a defense and it is a 15 point difference. So I'm very thankful that this team got the Cowboys and not the Panthers.
Yeah, I'm thankful too, because I kept looking at some combos, and I definitely was keying in that the Broncos were missing 3 starting offensive linemen. Like it just kind of their line had gotten shaken up a bit, and I thought that was something interesting to be on and look at. So let's break down this Millie. I remember we looked at it last week and it was super interesting. Let's kind of see what we did here. I made a mistake and entered my cash team twice in it, so that was done by me. Paid a little right there, I'm sure. But yeah, let's see how this team looked. So Derek Carr.
David Carr again, back to back.
Yeah, so here's the crazy part about Carr. I have him on like a best ball team, and I was like, oh, like the only one that made it through. I was like, oh, I'm screwed against the Colts. Like, there's no way this dude's gonna go off. But it was in a dome, right? And these offenses have been like really humming, the Colts and the Raiders. Yeah. So that's crazy to see in there. Mr. Nelson Aglar, man, Nelson Aglar is like, his price never goes up, and he just keeps printing. No. It's literally insane.
Yeah, he's been. Man, I played the 4 p.m. only slate, and I landed on him. Like, I don't feel like playing Nelson Aglar. Thank God I did, because this guy is just weekend. I mean, 1.4% owned. Derek Carr point. This is a wild team, man. This team is wild.
The craziest thing about this team too, it's double tight end again.
Yeah.
Like we never see double tight end taking these things down. It just happened
back-to-back weeks,
which is the most odd thing. And the only reason I can think that's, man, I want to go back to last week's team now and check it out. But the only reason I can think that's the case is because scoring has been like maybe higher this year. And we just saw like these like top tier players, right? We have a Henry with a massive score, and Allen Robinson with a massive score, and AJ Brown, like David Montgomery, like those guys cost a lot. And maybe because they cost so much, having those tight ends there, like that helps kind of get it done. I don't know.
Yeah, this team got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys under 6%, 6 guys under 10%. Like, yeah, this is definitely a off the chalk type team. Obviously, Henry is popular, Montgomery is popular. You could have let me build teams for 7 straight days, and I would have come up with this team.
Yeah, I was never plugging in Tyler Eifert and Mike Gesicki. I couldn't see myself playing Mike Gesicki without getting a Chief in there, I feel like.
Yeah, it's great, but it goes to say, I mean, so many people now in these tournaments are building teams the exact same way. I mean, Tony and I talked about on the Showdown. People, the 150 people are using the optimizers that are using the same projections, the same rules, and everyone ends up kind of on the same sort of builds, the same correlation, but it seems like these non-correlated teams are doing pretty well.
So the thing I'm noticing, I think, with the last couple of weeks, and I don't know, I can't remember last week's team, but at least with this team, is the thing I'm noticing is having that, like, so all these like receivers are kind of more priced up than normal. We don't have as many 3K guys getting the job done.
Yeah.
Right. We don't have as many like just 3K punts that like out of nowhere are just like the absolute trouble. Like, for instance, DeAndre Washington last year, he would have been 3K, right? He wouldn't have been 4K. So I think that maybe that's allowing the possibility for some of these 3K tight ends to become more in play. I don't know. I mean, again, it's a 2-week sample, and it just something funny that we just noticed here. And yeah, I mean, it's like you wouldn't even think if you ran Derek Carr with Nelson Aglar, you would think you had to run it back with a Colt. Obviously, the Colts are hard to get right, but hey, you didn't do that, and you played. Well, I mean, you got Allen Robinson and David Montgomery. No Texan ran back. I mean, it's definitely like not correlated at all. It's a funny thing.
Yes, I mean, he just had heavy exposure. Well, yeah. So the Titans obviously went off and scored a ton, and then the Bears went off and scored a ton. He had 4 guys from those 2 teams total, which obviously is key. And then, I mean, it was games where you didn't need run backs, I guess. I mean, so you look at it. So if you played the Titans and you played the Titans, you didn't want any Jacksonville dudes. They only scored 10. If you played Bears guys, you definitely didn't want any.
He had a Jaguar hoop. He had Mr. Tyler Eifert.
Oh, yeah. There's the correlation, Mr. Eifert. So, yeah, it's an interesting team. Congratulations to Free Fortner on taking this down. I mean, when the contest lock, all you got to do is score the most fantasy points. That's what a wise man once said.
Yes, I'll look at Forsaken. See, I know he plays and he's like more of like an MME guy, and like this probably has all the correlation you want to see. Well, it's got actually Bridgewater with Mike Davis and then Hamler, so that's some correlation there. You got the Hill with the Kelsey and the Gazeki, and then you got the cheap min price Berrios, and then
double tight end, man, double tight end. Everyone's doing this double tight end thing.
Yeah, I want to look at all these now. Is it all double tight ends? Let's see. At least the 2 we clicked on. Yeah. Maybe it's the 2 we clicked on. Oh no, here we go. Another one. 5th, Kelsey and Gazeki. And then Kelsey and Tanyan.
Yeah.
And then that's it. I mean, but they like 3 or 4 in the top 10 with double tight end is interesting. Especially because I feel like everyone thought they were sneaky with double tight end again. It's only a 2-week sample, so I don't want to overreact, but I just think it's interesting that has happened here as much as it has.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe you might be onto something though about the running backs. How the min price for running back now is 4K. So if you want to get real cheap, you got to play essentially, 2 tight ends is a way to get really, really cheap because you can go down to like 2.5K. Yeah,
I mean, of course, instead of Eifert, he could have played Hamler, right? I mean, it's obviously not that easy. If it was that easy, I'd win $1 million every single week. But,
that's true.
And I wouldn't obviously tell you because I'd be just shipping $1 million every week and I'd win 17 million makers and life would be great. But it's fun. It's awesome. But listen, I think that'll basically wrap it up for us, Hoop. Before we get out of here, one last thing, hit that like, guys, hit that subscribe. And also Showdown content. We got some up, Hoop. I know me, you, and JSU and Big T have been putting up some cores lately that have been doing pretty well. Tell the people about the video you just did and some of the content we got.
Yeah, Tony and I just recorded the Showdown video. So if you're seeing this before you see the Showdown video, you head over to Run Pure Sports or runpureshowdown.com. Our video will be there, and we'll have the playbook. Tony and I work on the playbook, and then Mangone and JSU also adding cores just to get more people involved as well. That'll be out probably a couple hours before lock. So make sure you head on over there and check out all that content.
Yeah, I know. Last week it was a pretty good one, it seemed like. I think we had Deontay, but not the Deontay Johnson drop game. We had the Deontay Johnson good game.
Dude, he's dropping a ton.
He's
dropping a ton.
I don't know how or why. I mean, maybe it's because he's a young guy and he's in his head a little bit. But the only other thing I could think of is like we seen a lot of drops from the Steelers, and maybe it's just because they're passing. I don't know if it's because they're passing so much, and it's like they're not running the ball, right? So maybe you feel like you're seeing more drops because all their passes are these like dumb little like quick passes, and not a lot of teams do those. I don't know.
I mean, Ebron, Deontay. I mean, it's been a rough couple games for those two. Like they can't catch the ball.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And it's not even like it's contested catches. I mean, these are like wide open drops, the bad ones.
Clearly, it's the classic. Like you already thought you caught it, and you're looking the other way. You can just see it in the video. So that was good. Mr. Hollywood Brown helped us big time. I know. So the Showdown course have been doing pretty well. Use the code DC30. That gets you 30% off your first payment for the first month, and then it gets you 15% off for life. So like the rest of the payments you get, they're going through, you're going to get those as long as you don't cancel it up. So get in on that. But that'll wrap it up for the lineup review show, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. For me, Mangone, and Hoop, we are out of here.